right, welcome guys. Let's play some more Legacy in the new format. Lots of things up in the air. People thought that with Reanimator banned, people would change to Dimir tempo as the new default deck. That hasn't exactly been the case. With that being said, I think this deck is super strong. It's one of the remaining decks that can play Tamiyo to a high effect. The deck has high individual card quality and should be decent into a Wild West metagame, considering we have Thoughtseize for Stasis Wasteland. Some of the unknowns with the deck is how good is Orcish Bowmasters, how often do we need the grindy element from Kaito, and can we play without Nile Spellbomb in the artifact slot? I have chosen to answer that question with a yes, and prioritized bigger Netherglyphs, mainly to close out combo and dodge lightning bolts out of the gates. Mana base is the same as always. A couple of Brazens as catch-alls, a couple of Murktides on top of the curve. Sideboard, it's a little bit more of a speculation here. I'm currently on 3 removal spells, and I don't even know which one is the better one. You know, they each shine in different situations. Dismember is cheaper, kills Magus of the Moon. Shoot the Sheriff is like the sure thing, kills Murktide Regent. Chiller's Edict, flexibility against, you know, Merit Lage, Planeswalkers, and a little bit of fail rate when the board is more clogged up. So, who knows? A couple of Aragorphs, I think that's good just as an end game against Izzet. Some very standard stuff to cover combo here. Consigns against Mystic Forge, Eldrazi, Hydros. Good against Cutter, Channeler, Pyroblast, Flame of Anor, Sneak Attack, Burning Wish, Welders, you know, list goes on. That card is just super flexible. Force Negation against Combo and Chalice. So, and then just a couple of Surgicals. So let's say the metagame changes slightly, then, you know, you can make a Bauble into a Spell Bomb. You can play a third Surgical. You can play a Cage in your sideboard. So lots of things up in the air, and my job is to try and figure that out so we can win more games later. With that being said, I have already uploaded a guide on my Metafy, so go check that out if you're in the market for that. And with all of that being said, let's get into some games. All right, round 1, we're playing first with Dimir Tempo. And this hand's a little bit weird because I actively want to get the beats going. I don't want to lose to Wasteland, but I also want to stop my opponent's development. So I think turn 1 Thoughtseize is the move here. The plan being hopefully set up a good daze for later, and then next turn either draw or brainstorm into the next land, so I can kind of go brainstorm, develop Netherglyph, daze their next play, get some beats going, get into the game this way. But yeah, of course, pretty scary with the one land. I think turn 1 Thoughtseize is easily the move here. It also grows the Netherglyph, so actually getting the Netherglyph into play is less important when you spent your time growing it, right? So let's say this card had like static power, or it was a Delver or whatever, then we have to change our mindset a little bit. Looks like my opponent disconnected, so maybe that gives me time to think a little bit more about my hand here. You can also argue Daze is my turn 1 protection, and I get Netherglyph going. There's any powerful turn 1 play I could Daze. And actually, I might be in the market for that to begin with, because I only have 1 land, so kind of delaying my and improving my digging power with Brainstorm as well, because I get through more draw steps. That is also more draw steps for the opponent to think about Wasteland, though. All right. I will Thoughtseize my opponent. It was very close, actually. Super cool to have multiple options. So casting turn 1 Thoughtseize, it's mainly about how to make sure the opponent's draw lines up to your draw here. So in a situation like this, I'm interested in setting up some powerful dazes during the game. So that means you sometimes leave them with a quote-unquote better card because you know you can just daze it later. I had some situations recently in a coaching session where leaving them with the One Ring, even though the One Ring was the best card, was, you know, quote-unquote correct, because we could just daze it later, and we actively wanted our opponent to tap out a couple of turns from now instead of the next turn. All right. This is going to be a cool one. So I think I'm going to take Tamiyo here. Let's see. What happens if I leave them with Tamiyo? Then I need to daze turn 1. I'm not necessarily interested in that. All right. Leave them with double cutter. And now they will be in a situation where they will go land ponder, and if they find a land, they slow roll the bobble. Ooh. Okay. So maybe the game changes a little bit here. Force a will. Oh, shoot. Okay. So daze, I get dazed. Let's cast this brainstorm. I think it's pretty important that I get to my second land. Here's my second land alongside a third one. So I think what I'm supposed to do here is, let's see. Maybe I put back Bowmaster Wasteland, and I don't play Nethergoyf. Then I'm looking to daze the cutter, and then force the second, I guess. Here, Surveil. Do we know we have full info here? They mill a triple third cutter. That's pretty funny. So now they go cutter. I daze it. The opponent cannot do anything about this unless they drew exactly Force of Will, which I would love. One cutter gone. So now I could draw Wasteland. I actually think I should do that. I think I should do that. Let's see. One unknown. Drawing the Wasteland instead of a random card, I think is totally fine. Let's Wasteland the Volcanic, because dazing back the falls is a little less desirable. So here I have a move, but I don't think it makes any sense. I should just not get dazed. I should try and get dazed another cutter if they even draw land, right? They did. Okay. All right. That's a cool one. I expect the opponent to slam another cutter. So let's see. I could force it, but I don't think that makes sense. I think it's better for me to delay myself. They have a daze in hand. So I go float a mana, daze the cutter. And then playing Nethergoyf into the known daze feels a little bit bad. But maybe that's what I have to do because I have the Bowmaster lined up. So in the meantime, if I draw a blue card, that card is then on. And if I draw Murktide later, that card is on. The opponent with the bauble here, so they will know about my next card. Which is a random blue card. Okay, so Tamiyo. Tamiyo's probably the one that I should... No, that's my blue card. Okay. I'll play Nethergoyf. I'll get it dazed. And then I'll try and Bowmaster my way into this game. Having Murktide covered with Force Blue card. So if my opponent has a Murktide Region, they'll let this go. If they don't, they will probably daze it. Daze gone. Ponder the known card. Also note that if I find another Wasteland, my opponent's left playing blue, mono blue here because they didn't want to find second Volcanic. Okay, so maybe I'm getting cooked by second daze, and maybe I'm lucky that my prophecy comes true here. Never mind. They delay the decision. Currently, no known cards left in my opponent's hand. He shuffled the Ponder. I guess that's decent for me. So I'm going to pass here. My opponent's going to be thinking about Bowmasters, but I don't think I can do much about that. The opponent had 1 mana up, so... So let's see. Did the opponent assemble Murktide Force blue card? That's what I'm interested in. If they did, I need to have a lane on top of my deck to have a chance. I'm going to pitch the Tameo. And then I'm going to try and end step the Bowmaster and see what happens. Force a Will. With the way my opponent delayed with Ponder last turn, it looked like they didn't have Force of Will, I must say. They could have found second days, which would be kind of backbreaking. Let's see. Okay, they didn't, so they have removal in hand, which is, you know, decent for me. Land? Ooh, baby. Looks like we're getting Kaito going here. I'm actually going to return the Bowmaster. I feel like my opponent has the removal spell for it. Is that even an... Is that an argument? If they have Unholy Heat, let's see. Creature, artifact, land. All right, let's try this. I wasn't entirely sure about how to proceed there. So let's draw an extra card. Force a Will is not great right now. So I think I should assume this Kaito is getting killed. I feel like if it's not getting killed, I'm winning fairly easy. The opponent does not have double bolt. Well, I guess they could respect days here and have double bolt. Let's see. Is this a petty theft? I mean, then they need a removal spell as well, right? Pretty good situation for me here, I think. It's still very possible it goes wrong, but I like my position. Also, just having the Bowmasters up my sleeve here. I was about to say job security with Brazen Borrower. Let's see. The opponent needs a good turn here. But they didn't have a good turn. Well, I think attacking here is great. Do I Bowmaster to deal 1 more damage? I could see that. Orcish Bowmaster is on the stack. Will it get forced a second time around? That would be great, right? Resolve, ping, grow the army. You got me. Take 5. I will now surveil. This is great. So draw Brainstorm next turn. Draw another Goyf now. Play around days. You're up, buddy. All right. We get the job done. Game 1 against Issa Tempo. I was lucky to craft a game plan around dazing some cutters, using Wasteland to make it happen. So I like all of these cards. I don't like any of these cards. Wonder if there's a move to make here. Let's see. We can cut all those for all of those. What are we looking at here? Do we not have bad cards in our deck? We have Thoughtseize, which can be a little bit bad when we're, on the back foot. But the card is actually a decent, it's decent against Cutter. So I might even want to keep the third copy. Let's think about this. No, I think every other card here is better, but it's worth considering. In general, I like to draw one Thoughtseize against those decks. So whether 2 or 3 is your preferred number, I can get behind that. I think as long as we don't get run over, I like the situation. Cutter is great, though. Maybe we need more cutter coverage. It just feels so bad to spend more slots on what seems to be a pretty desirable matchup. All right, 0 lands. Have to mulligan. So did our opponent. Opponent on a multi 5. So this looks like I should put back Brazen Borrower, fetch basic island, and try and get into the game. The bauble being better than a random card here. I could also... I should probably play Tamiyo to keep my opponent busy. Usually that's a good strategy. When you're trying to get into the game in your landlight, if you can keep your opponent busy, that's pretty cool. Let's see if they keep me busy. Turn 1 Tamiyo on their mulligan to 5 here. Ooh, I draw the land, which is great. So, well, I think what I have to do... I love that it's like blacked out here. Well, I think I should Fatal Push that card. If they daze me, that's whatever. If this happens, I'm happy. Any exchange is good, right? No response. No. So now I have to think about Bauble. I think it's better for me to get going here. The opponent draws a land. So Cameo is a great way to get back into a game, right? Where you mulliganed. Ooh, that's a good draw. So now I'll probably play Cameo first, then Ponder. Use this as a lightning rod, and then try and stick the Bowmaster. Because Bowmaster is punishing... Oh, okay. Sure. Opponent's trying to prevent me from playing the game. I think that's totally reasonable. Good draw. Let's get our own Tamiyo going. Opponent's hand is currently Volcanic, tap land, unknown card. So they do get a head start here with the clues. Oh, the last card is a removal spell. Or, you know, it's a one drop card at least. Okay, Ponder, the least dangerous. What I could do here is flip Tamiyo, but in a triple Pyroblast matchup, I'm actually not sure that's the move. Here's Bauble. Ooh, the opponent waits on Bauble. That's a cool one. So we get to maybe punish. Unless they have exactly Daze or Bolt, I guess. Yeah, I think I play it now. I don't really want my opponent to have, like, Brainstorm or whatever in response. Slam the Bowmaster. Ping. Let's see if the opponent has a Bolt. They need a Bolt as the exact last card. They did not. Okay. So let's do this. I feel like if the opponent spends their turn flipping the Tamiyo, I'm all good with that. Mounting a little bit of an offense / hate bear here. Trying to make it so that their way back into the game is going to be a painful one. If I want to, I can flip my Tamiyo. We kind of went over that before. All right, here's a preordain. So Tamiyo's going to get flipped. The opponent should have attacked first. A classic move. Everybody's done this. I've done it numerous times. missing out on a clue. So now I can kind of keep the Tameo at bay. Thoughtseize is a good one. Let's see. If I hit Land Bowmaster on my Brainstorm, it works, but I don't think I should try that. I think it's fine to do this. Keeping the Tameo at bay. Flipping my own is probably good now. And then I can use the Thoughtseize to hopefully clear a Pyroblast. Let's see. Brainstorm onto the stack. Ponder. Not good. Brainstorm. Not good. Is that how it works? Let's see. You actually want those lands because of clues. So this works. The point of this Thoughtseize is essentially to clear Pyroblast, Murktide, Cutter, like those type of cards. Okay, so they have 2 of those. Let's see here. I'm super weak to Murktide Regent. Maybe I should just abandon the Tameo. Let's cast a Ponder. Yeah, Kaito's awesome. So is there any way to, I guess, not draw the bauble? Is that good to not draw the bauble? Probably fine. So I can play like this. And pass. So now my opponent will kill the Tameo, because if they don't, I'll start bringing back stuff. That's kind of a forced play. We knew about this. This one is gone. So they have Pyro and 1 unknown. I don't love. Okay, fetching, plussing, Pyroblasting. Oh, Cutter. Sick. That's very, very strong. Okay. So the opponent decides they can't play around days. I agree with them. Now that Monk. I actually think it's going to attack, which is kind of funny. So the opponent has no idea of knowing I have Kaito here, but now this lets me kill the Tameo. So let's see how this works. Captain attacking. So is this gonna attack the same thing? I have no idea. Let's see how this works. Let's go double attack the Tameo. Resolve the trigger. Go to blocks. Kaito the Bowmaster, and hopefully I get to, yeah, perfect. So that one is dead. And now what I could do is surveil. Maybe I'm supposed to play like this. Maybe I'm supposed to, if I have a good card, I don't surveil. How does that sound? Have a bad card, so now I do want to surveil. I could also tap that creature. Is that crazy to start tapping that creature? Then if the opponent draws bolts, my creature, my planeswalker dies. Tapping down that creature. Why is that good? Let's say they go cantrip, cantrip, and this one is dead anyway. This is a tough one. I think I'll surveil here. These cards are great. These cards are straight up bangers, so maybe pass. Let's see. My opponent needs a powerful turn now or it's over. That is not going to cut it unless the opponent cut it. that's not going to cut it unless the opponent finds like spell into spell here. So cantrip into 1-drop would make this game interesting. If not, I think this game is not interesting. Yeah, close. Close, but no cigar here for the opponent. They know about the Bowmaster in my hand. So that means the monk is dead if they crack this bauble. Right, so it goes down to 1. My opponent will take 6. I'll draw cards, develop tons of bodies. Here it is. So I will slam the bowman. Ping the monk. And now they need something like bolt or whatever here. They didn't draw bolt. They draw this card. So let's see. 5, 8. So yeah, this game is over. The opponent's down to 7. Let me surveil. Another one. It's really funny. Another Goyf. Another Goyf. You're up. All right. Pretty sweet start here. Lots of bread and butter tempo. Lots of bread and butter tempo stuff here. And the black version reigning supreme. One spell. All right. The opponent's seen enough. Let's play some more. All right, quick message here. My Metafy is the home of future legacy and vintage champions. I have all my personal guides. I have my exclusive guest content. I'm hosting giveaways. I'm hosting tournaments. I'm offering coaching. And first and foremost, I have the best community in the business. The Barony is full of players who are happy to just learn, get better, share their journey, and simply just rack up top 8 after top 8 and share the passion with the other guys in the community. So if you want to join over there, I would be delighted to see you. And thank you so much for your continued support. Now let's get back to playing the Magic. All right, more tempo Magic coming your way here. I'm playing Dimir tempo. I lost the die roll, but I have a pretty good hand for that. My opponent pressed the mulligan button. I'm always happy to see that when I have, interactive stuff. It's a good way to think about the game, like card advantage, right? So if you're ahead on cards, any exchange is good, that type of deal. Also, I love my opponent's name. I used to love to play with those cards during COVID era. So let's see what the opponent peaked at. They activate. It's so annoying. I can't see what they target. Okay, target themselves. My bad. So they like their top card. They will draw into that top card. Tamiyo, that's a great one. So maybe I should do the same, bubble myself to learn whether I should fetch or not. I like that card. Yeah, that land is probably okay. So my opponent brainstorms here. I think I'm fine. They're probably playing another Is It Mirror, or Is It Pseudo Mirror, I guess we should call it. Brainstorm resolves. They've successfully hit their best card, and now I see this. All right, a classic. Classic matchup now these days. It looks like Tamiyo is the card that crushes me. Yeah, let's take Tamiyo. So now the opponent has the chance to go Chandler Wasteland. And Wonder which card they left on top. Could be card like Daze they don't want me to know about. That land is gone and they play a 3/3. I think I have to accept this and try and find a fatal push before I'm dead, essentially. Another land. So this could be basic land time. Basic land Tameo, a little bit of a weak play, but I think with the Mire, it's the right one. So I could have taken Chandler here and accepted that both players would be grinding with Tameo. Unclear. Just a good tip here, by the way. You should fetch before preordaining. I mean, the opponent can still do that, right? So the reason is, if you find two cards you like, then you know you're going to be shuffling one away. So it's a little bit different than Ponder. With Ponder, you generally want to hold up the fetch land so you can play like quote-unquote impulse. Here's Lightning Bolt, a card that I will base. Also, the card you put on the bottom, you then shuffle into the deck, and that card was probably a bad one since, you know, you put it to the bottom. All right. I'm trying to daze my way here, which is not exactly the winning strategy. Ooh, nice draw. So fetch basic swamp slam 4/5. That's decent. Was basic swamp bad here? I was a little too fast here. I do have a daze. Close one. Close one. I'm very scared about my opponent's last card, I must say. Petty Theft. They put the Fluttershy into the yard. They have one card left. I think I should force a will this card. I don't love it, but I think trying to race my opponent here is something I want to do. And this 3/1 on the back end could be all the opponent has going for them. Let's see how this works out. I'm at 9. So I'm losing the race. So this play is essentially a play to... I'm basically assuming that I'm drawing the removal spell in time, and then I want the clock, right? I draw this card. Yeah. I think it's worth bouncing here. So now I've used 2 premium cards against non-Murktide Regent, which I don't love. But I think this is a way... Ooh, great card. Cutter into that card. Very strong. So I gave my opponent a second spell here, which is a little bit ironic, of course. And I'm at 7. Yeah, I don't love this. I basically need my opponent to have bricks in hand to win. This helps. This helps because it prevents 2 damage if I flip the Tameo, but casting the Brazen prevents more damage. All right. It's down to the crunch time here. Do I think I can brainstorm into a live card? A live card being essentially Fatal Push. I will play Brazen. What if I just stay back here and then worry about that next turn? Stay back. All right, I'll try this. I'm playing out Brazen now because if my opponent has, you know, the days, it doesn't help them with the spells. And I don't want my opponent to draw the days, and this is like an open secret, right? So essentially, I need my opponent to not have a double spell. Okay, that's how Core Steel Cutter works, right? It either sits in play and does nothing, or it explodes. I have certainly done that a time or two. This was a cool one where my early thought sees I could kind of pick my poison, and I'm basically paying for it here 4 or 5 turns later. So the opponent obviously has a spell here. The question is if that spell is interaction, if it's a creature, stuff like that. So they could like bolt the brazen, get another monk. That scenario would be annoying. Let's see what they go with. Yeah, this is kind of the problem with my plays earlier, that I needed to end the game before that card dealt me in. Murktide Regent, super strong. And there's the Fatal Push, which is funny. Well, how to beat an 8/8 Murktide? 1, 2, 3. Find my own is one of them. I think what I have to do is pass. I have to block Brainstorm with Tamiyo. And then I have to deploy an 8/8 Murktide before the show's over. And my opponent even has the equipment, so yeah, I'm in trouble. So block. Cast Brainstorm. Don't want to get dazed here. Yeah, this is not great. Put back 2 pushes, because I'll need to sack a clue end of turn. The Murktide is lethal in 1 swing. Ooh, what is this? Brainstorm now? Sure. The opponent was scared of Bowmasters. If they find something like a bolt for the Tamiyo, they set up the cutter trigger. It's funny what 2 mana can do to people, right? So let's say Orcus Bowmasters didn't exist. The opponent just cast Brainstorm to see if they can trigger the cutter. Okay, they break here, so you're saying there's a chance. These Fatal Pushes are really a little bit too late. So what I need now is an answer to Merc. So it's like finding my own Merc, maybe? Yeah, this is super bad. Kaito. I can now not win this game. Okay. That was a sweet one. I had to make some very off-balance, annoying plays, and my opponent made me pay with the annoying timing on the Murktide. So maybe on the play, couple of days is gonna be better. I like that. Yeah, that was a tough one. Like bouncing the Chandler felt so bad. Essentially, when you're resolving early Thoughtseize like that, you not only have to look at your hand and say, what do I have right now? What do I have covered? You also have to say, what is it realistic that I can come up with over, this or that time span? So, yeah, super cool. Super cool stuff. And then the pushes were there once I got rid of the Chandler and it already dealt me 12 damage or whatever. So, just fun time all around. But that's why Magic is great, right? I like this. This is a little bit susceptible to just the opponent pouncing on a wasteland exactly. But I think that's okay. Ooh, the opponent had a sweet line here. So in order to educate that wasteland, they should take a look at the top card. I just kept the card on top, right? If that is a land, you're less interested in wastelanding. And if you're going to bobble anyway, you might as well do it, right? So little bit of a cool one. I have two options here. I could hold up Brainstorm. Sorry, not hold up Brainstorm. Ooh, this is brutal. So I guess we try and take the turn here and see if the opponent's asleep. They're not asleep. Well, I need to brainstorm into a land, or the game is over. Okay, so now I will get time walked. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna play some more. All right, last round of today's video. Let's hope it's a good one. It's always a little bit sad to brainstorm into oblivion on while doing content. It's a bad habit of mine. Let's see if we can avoid that. This hand looks awesome. If my opponent is actually trying to take the initiative, can't really complain about this. Turn one Thoughtseize, keep the shuffle for, you know, either Ponder or Revolt. Let's see some thoughts here. What are you working with, opponent? You're working with a control deck, a pretty darn serious control deck. So Caracas here is annoying for what I'm planning to do. So what happens if I go... I think I have to take the Tameo, and then I have to really think about the Caracas later. Chances are I'll Thoughtseize the dock before it becomes relevant, though. This could be a tough matchup, like big control. I'm not very well set up against a deck like that. Lounge, pass. So that means the opponent is a Beanstalk deck as well, which is kind of funny. So now I could brainstorm fetch. I could also ponder. I do like this hand quite a bit. Ponder into Tameo, which is going to get bounced by Caracas, so that's a bad one. Otherwise, would have been awesome. Maybe just taking this force is fine, and then use the brainstorm as gas. Here's another Thoughtseize. This game will slow down quite a bit. I'm looking to draw stuff like Orcish Bowmasters, Nethergoyf. Ooh, opponent with the negation here. Huh. So what does that mean? That means we should accept that in a heartbeat, I think. Caracas. Yeah. Okay, that's a great draw, unfortunately. Very, very good draw. So now I have to force a Tameo. That was really brutal. Caracas doing insane work here. I'm trying to brainstorm into my own one drop. Wow. These are really good. So essentially I have the next Wasteland. Yeah, this is crazy good brainstorm. So not only get rid of my opponent's white source, but get rid of Caracas, right? So if the opponent's last card is actually Plow, this is unbelievable. So let's see if Tameo survives the night. Good start for that. My next draw is a Wasteland, and I can keep the clues going, so... Here's Solitude. Okay, so I guess that's better than losing the game from the side of my opponent. And their own Tameo. This game is absurd. This game is absurd. So boom. Boom. All right, so we're all the way down to no resources. I'm not going to cast this card. I think I need a little bit more digging power. So the opponent has probably stuff like Riddler, Beanstalk. I will try and spike the days here. This game is really sick. I don't have the days. Mm-hmm. Nice draw too from the opponent. If this is a way to keep the Riddler in play, it's insane. Okay, okay, okay. I will slam the Bowmaster and clear the top of my deck here. Pretty insane game. Like, so many exchanges here, and the opponent just laughed at it, which is really funny. Okay, so I guess we dome our opponent here. That's decent. Okay. Thoughtseize is a good one. Let's learn if I'm getting ambushed. I'm not getting ambushed. So take that card. Attack for 4. So now the opponent can play Quantum Riddler, which will leave me with a 4/4. Pretty hard to deal with that card. Fatal Push. And I think the opponent successfully has grinded me out of this game. Here's Leyline Binding. All right. That was a really sweet game. All of those exchanges early, and my opponent just made me look very silly. So let's see. Shoot the Sheriff, kills Riddler. Edict does somewhat of a job. Probably should not rely on dazes. Probably need this game to go quite long. Or, well, I probably cannot avoid this game going long. Let me put it that way. I should probably add the Barrogoyfs to just have some threat density. Third push. I don't know. It's probably fine. You could start adding consign and stuff, but I think that's a little bit too much trying to get them. All right. Raisin seems a little bit bad, but I guess it can bounce some stuff in a pinch, get in for 3, etc. On the draw, I would actually be super tempted because then I can start killing lands and exchanging draw steps. But on the play, that's not going to do it. All right, this is pretty solid. Should I expect the third land to come automatically, or should I just make sure I play my creatures on curve? Not an easy decision. A cool one nonetheless. I'm trying to basically force my opponent to deal with everything here. That's a good start. Thoughtseize is a good card. Am I interested in being off balance here? I think I could be. Casting Thoughtseize, Force of Will, Solitude. So funnily enough, this Force of Will deals with Barrogoyf. Let's take the force and get ready to surveil. Then I force my opponent to have a white card, I guess. Lounge. Force a will. I don't think I'm allowed to keep that card. Go Masters. Lauren revealed. Yeah. Maybe this is Bowmaster time. If that card eats a Solitude, it's more likely my Baragorf gets there. Here's a Tropical. Flooded Strand. Pass. So why did the opponent pass here? Because they drew a Brainstorm? And they Brainstorm fetch in response here? Well played by the opponent. I don't know if I played this well. If I slam this Bowmaster on my turn, I cannot punish anything, but I also cannot look like a fool if they found the Brainstorm. Okay. That plow was decent for me, I think. So is this time to... I think this is time to Bowmaster again. Wasteland. Wasteland and push, and then a bad card. I think this is a shuffle. Orcish Bowmasters, trying to attack for 2. Opponent is surveilling. Put a Ponder to the yard. Makes a lot of sense. They're currently looking for, I guess, a white card to unlock their hand. You still know about it. Wait a minute. Do we know about all these 4, or did I miss anything? I missed the fact that I took a Thoughtseize earlier. Okay, got it. Yeah, that is very, very strong. Probably going to be unbeatable. But let's see. Shoot the Sheriff. That's a good one. Okay. Then I'll play Baragorf. Also, I think my opponent has a Force of Will with the way they slow rolled the Ponder. Baragorf resolves. Fetching. Okay, so I guess Brainstorm also messed this up a tiny bit. Here's Solitude. Here's Force of Will. So I guess shoot the Sheriff, attack, try and force the Riddler. Yeah, this was a tough one, I must say. The opponent's deck is nicely set up, and the opponent drew some very, very good cards. Here's another draw 2. Yeah, this game is over. The opponent has 2 of those guys now. We'll slam them back to back. Got a nice draw 2, like the Muldrifter treatment here. Yeah, I got dominated. Something to think about is if, let's say, tempo is by far the most played strategy, like the deck to beat, essentially, in Legacy, then you can start actually playing control decks in, like, competitive tournaments, right? That would be scary, I must say. It's mainly just an analysis to say that if you're a tempo player, I don't think you should be that scared unless you're trying to, 5-0 your next league. Then maybe that's going to be a challenge. For now, Control hasn't been putting up any results in the challenges and stuff, so Yeah, who knows? I'm very scared for decks like this to become like metagame crushers. But for now, I'm not too worried. I did get severely destroyed here. So that's going to do it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. I enjoy having you guys with me on my journey, and I'll see you back next time for more sweet legacy action.